first light of the day. The first light of the day is arrives here. So if you ever want to know how your day is going to be, just call up your friends in New Zealand and say, how was that day? And we can let you know how it was, because we're just a little bit ahead of our time over here.
Oh, that is cute. That is funny. And I like that idea. That's pretty neat.
It's kind of neat,
Um,
isn't it? And I love
yes, it
connecting.
is.
I love connecting the hemispheres. I do a cleanse program, and quite often we will have people on different sides of the world doing the cleanses. And so someone will be cleansing in spring and the other in autumn, or vice versa. And there's
Yeah.
this, it's beautiful. And then when there's that really long, dark night that we have in winter, and we're connecting through to the northern hemisphere can just send us light, and vice versa again. Yeah, it's a beautiful
Yes.
thing to be able to connect globally and have a global uh, intelligence of nature.
Yes. Yeah. And I just, it really is. And I haven't ever thought of it that way. So thank you for sharing that with us. We, it's just kind of interesting, when let me see here. It doesn't look like it's going live here. Oh, yeah, we're live. Okay, never mind, folks. We're live. All right. So I am really thrilled to have Anneliese with us today. Um, this year is dedicated to sharing about resilient souls from all over the world, obviously. And we have these vibrant discussions on self awareness, self acceptance, self care, and, other crucial aspects of self love. And so I'm so glad to have you here. And today we're focusing probably more on the self care aspect of it, talking about nourishing our mind and our body and our soul so that we feel whole. And wholeness is just something that I have fully embraced over the last several years. So it's something that we talk about a lot in this group. So I would like for you to share with us, Anneliese, what your mission is and kind of give us a little bit of your background.
Okay, well, cool. It's lovely to be here, Cindy. And I guess the thing that before I get into me, I think the thing that I would like to say is that my work is, although it is self-care, it's self-curiosity. I'm a what I call a scientist of the soul. And I'm interested in this technology that we've got, this body, the way the soul inhabits this body, how this body interfaces with with what it's created from, the earth. So for me, it's self-inquiry. I'm a self-inquirist, I guess, and I use this body to uh, plot my path of curiosity, and how it all amalgamates. One of the things that interests me is resilience is a beautiful word, and I think it's a very important word for this time. And I was thinking about it the other day, and I was thinking, to imply that the soul is resilient is to also imply that the soul can be damaged, and that the soul has a quality of mm, what's the word that I'm looking for? Um, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. But to be resilient, we have to be able to to be hurt, to be damaged, to be able to grow from, to be able to restore. And I think that's quite an interesting thing, to look at the soul in that capacity. Because we
Mhm.
kind of take the soul for granted because we can't see it. But anyway, that, I mean, that even in itself might give you a little bit of an idea about who I am and what my background is. I love to question everything, and I decided a very long time ago that I would say yes to everything and allow that piece of the puzzle to uh, put itself into the majesty of the world as it is. So I've got a very yes mentality, and look at the world very much as that paradox can exist. So two yeses can exist whilst seeming in opposition. And as soon as both of those yeses are in the context of the greater mechanism of the world, then hey, we're running. There's no division, there's no separation, there's no judgment. We're into unity and into unified field, or unity consciousness, or however you want to put it. So I guess just in that in itself, that's what I'm an inquirer, but I'm also my business is the Joy Body, and that name came just simply from how much absolute fun I have inhabiting my body. Like, I love to dance, I love to do gymnastics, I love to climb trees, I love to hug people and do yoga. And so how the soul lands in the somatic tissue is where I like to navigate. So that's just a little bit about me. As I said, I'm from Aotearoa, New Zealand, and part of this global community that is awakening. And I feel very privileged to be the age I am. Also, that's another cool thing, is that I'm 49. No, I'm 48. And I have this capacity to have retrospective, which I've never had before. I can look back and go, okay, I can understand this body in in relation to time. And also now I've got this body that offers me so much feedback. And you'll know what I mean by feedback. And it's in contrast that we learn. So for me, I believe that the soul incarnates so that we can have an experience of contrast and growth. And so so that's the body, and this is my playground. And so I'm a yogi, and I teach yoga and meditation and occupying the flesh suit. So that's me.
Well, yes, that is you. And we've got a few people joining us live in the group, which is fantastic. So Facebook doesn't necessarily show me everybody, but I think my mom's on here and Betsy and Barbara on here. So thank you for joining us live. And we are here to really talk to you about self-inquiry. Now, that's interesting that you bring that up, because self inquiry is actually, when I work with people and we start kind of digging into, in the very beginning, really, I offer what I call a self inquiry call, or a self expansion call. And it's an opportunity for them to just ask questions, and because we don't often ask questions, we just kind of accept and I think take in what is out there, and we don't necessarily ask questions about ourselves and how it is that we can utilize what's inside of us, tap into what's already in there. To me, that is one of the biggest revelations that I've had, even though, I know I'm a person, and then, I'm independent and all that stuff. But knowing that all of this positive cleansing energy that we have as human beings, and me personally as a child of God, that it's in there. It's already in there. We just have to tap into it. And so I am excited to talk a little bit further with you about some of the things you do. I know today we were going to focus a little bit on meditation as well. And you and I both kind of embrace different modalities to self inquiry, to taking care of ourselves, and to really focus on what it is that we can do to be the best that we can be through the bodies that we have. So, when we talk about meditation, I want you to share a little bit about that. What is it? You mentioned something when we were talking earlier on, about feeling disempowered in the world. And so let's talk just a little bit about that empowerment, that self-inquiry, that meditation, and how it helps us to feel more empowered.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to preface this, but this is a huge topic. This is this is really what I call the alpha and omega of spiritual practice. It's the foundation, and it's the ultimate. In yoga, the end result is union with God. So,
Mhm.
you know, the which you kind of can't get there if you are attached to yourself. And that's basically it. If you believe your own bullshit, you're gonna stay in an echo chamber. And that's just how it is. And meditation is in all of religions, all spiritual pathways. Meditation is there, contemplation. And what meditation does is it gives us a chance to let go of the world for a minute and let the world's grip on us go for a minute, which is fully important, because how often do we find ourselves doing things out of a feel of necessity or pattern or habit, or because we believe that it should be this way or that way, or and we're actually distracted. The mind is a very distracting, wonderful tool, but it distracts us from what's quite often what's straight in front of our face. You know, like communion with a tree, for example. You know, I could be thinking about my shopping list. I think it's also really important to know that throughout the eons, meditation has been crafted by many of these different spiritual pathways and crafted to a purpose. And so the empowering aspect that you were talking about, I relate to the compassion pathway of meditation, which is the meta pathway, which is because I believe the state of the world at the moment is so absolutely nuts that we can't actually open ourselves to the reality of it. Otherwise, we wouldn't get out of bed. We would cry and cry and cry and cry and die
Mhm.
and keep dying inside, because that's the reality, is that there is so much pain and suffering. So we close ourselves down. And the meta way of meditating, I practice a, a a modality called Tonglen, which comes from the Tibetan Buddhists. And what they do is they clear their mind, they connect with God, and then they breathe in the suffering of the world. And then they breathe out love. And that's it. Breathe in suffering, which you'll probably do. You remember back in the 90s when it was like, breathe in love, breathe out the crap. Breathe in love, breathe out the crap. It was a big thing in the 90s. I remember just going, no, I think that's wrong, because we're just leaving little piles of crappy energy everywhere. And when I found Tonglen, I was like, oh, that makes way more sense, using the body as the alembic to transmute the energy of the world. And so when I say it's empowering, it means that we can open our hearts again because we've got tools and techniques. I really want to also say that many people don't think they can do meditation because we have such busy minds, and the attention deficit disorders that are happening at the moment that pretty much everyone can relate to are of the pace of the world. And so by stopping the world for a little bit and taking time to cultivate the frontal lobe executive functioning capacities of focus attention, we actually can cultivate an ability to focus more. So for children with ADHD, adults with ADHD, anyone who feels busy, and I think busy is a sickness, it's a sickness of our time. When somebody says, I can't do that, I'm busy, they're cutting themselves off from connection. And I think it's just a refocus, the capacity to focus on what is essentially needed in the moment. And so focus meditation is very simple. It's like training a muscle. It's literally like going to the gym. So learning a single point focus meditation, there's heaps of them out there. I would recommend anyone who feels like they're too busy or they can't meditate, those two things. I'm too busy, I can't meditate. Find a focus meditation, start with 5 minutes, go to 10 minutes, go to 15 minutes. And eventually, once you're at 10 minutes, you'll find that you can do 20 minutes standing on your head and watch your life change. So those are two very distinct, different types of meditation. And then the third path of meditation, which I teach, is the orientation to awareness, which is disconnecting from the story of self. It's basically connecting to essence nature, which is again back connecting to the soul speak, and then letting the shape of the body, of the conditioned ego self, just be what it is, rather than believing that that is what we are. So it's a sort of a transcendent, but not transcendent of anything other than the self. It's not transcending, the world as it is. It's just not letting the self hold the soul so tightly. So I hope that answered your question, and I hope it also, yeah.
Yeah, and it did spark a little bit of interest, a question from the Betsy who is watching. And she says, why breathe in suffering? And I kind of understand what you're talking about. I've done some studying of the Ho'oponopono process. And so we know, it's taking on full responsibility for what's going on around us, and within us. But why don't you explain a little bit, answer that question for us in through your thoughts of
Yeah.
why breathe in that suffering.
Okay. Well, because that's, first of all, because that's the only way that we're actually going to change it is by acknowledging it and being with it. And if we take it into our body, this is the technology that we've got on this planet to do the work with. This body is the technology, and it is an alembic. It is a crucible where we can make alchemy happen. We can change, crap into gold. And I also want to also talk to the other point that life is uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable until it's not. And we need as humans get to terms with the fact that we will be uncomfortable daily. And the more that we can be okay with being uncomfortable, the more that we can actually start to move through these blockages and start moving into more ease. And I mean, I learned that in yoga. You do a yoga pose, it's really uncomfortable for the first little bit, and then it's easeful. It's like sitting down to have an uncomfortable conversation. You sit there and you're full of trepidation and it's uncomfortable, and you talk, and then all of a sudden truth comes in and it's liberating. So yes, it's an uncomfortable practice because we have to open ourselves up to what the grief of the world is. But the pain in the world and the grief, the pain body, as Eckhart Tolle talks about, the pain body of the world, is not going to be transmuted by us not looking at it. And the way that we can breathe, the way that we can change it is to breathe it into our body. And naturally, our body is a mechanism of restoration. So bringing it into our body, it restores the energy, and then out with the love. That's why it's using the body to pray, basically.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I
And
hope
so
that,
she's, yeah, and she is just responding that she is an empath, and she already carries others' energy, and she feels like she should shield herself. She
yeah, I
already
would,
takes on
I
a
would,
lot.
that's a story. And it's a beautiful story, but it's still a story. It's still a constructed nature that you are. So, you know,
She asked, is she overthinking it? That's what she just asked
oh yeah,
too.
totally.
You
And
know?
and I mean, I'm empathic as the days, and one of these children that, really was one of those indigo children when I came through, and I get that. But the way that I am protected is by being open and being in love and in light. I never have the need to protect myself because I'm not afraid. I don't have fear. And that is because I've seen fear in the construct of my being and just gone, that is not me. I am not that fear. I am love. Now, it's a big concept for somebody who has created their whole identity in a certain way, your identity is not who you are, and your soul is impeccable. So, I mean, this is a beautiful conversation, to have, but it's just a story, and fear keeps us with boundaries. I mean, I'm not saying that boundaries aren't for the interface of this mechanism for the ego. Boundaries are really helpful because they say, like that it stops here, but to protect oneself is to close oneself off. And yeah, I hope that you can, is it Betty? I hope that you can understand what I'm saying, in that just keep tuning into love and not be in fear. It's like, as soon as I see a ghost, I'm like, hey, what's up? How are you? As soon as I've met some pretty dark entities, and I've met them with love, and the power's gone. So that's how I see the world, and how I see the mechanism within the world. And yeah, we are skinless, and it is uncomfortable, but get okay with being uncomfortable. That's the first thing. Get okay with being uncomfortable. Get okay with being uncomfortable, because it will soften into a place where your actual inner work, your inner light, can actually start to be the thing that's more important than the thing that's uncomfortable.
Yes, and I appreciate you talking through that and sharing your feelings on that. Betsy is saying that she doesn't see it as fear, and that she feels like she is not capable of closing herself off as an
Well,
empath,
then
if
why
I
try?
understand that correctly. And
Then why
the way
try?
yeah, and the thing that comes to mind for me when we're talking about these different states of being, these ability to kind of quiet the mind, to take on those feelings, is the importance of that continuous flow. Because whether or not you are able to move forward means not letting yourself get stuck for any period of time. I can see your value, what you're trying to say, as far as taking in those feelings, being able to feel them, because I feel like a lot of times, for myself and so many people that I've talked with, that they do not want to embrace that pain. We do everything on earth to avoid it. And so when we are willing, and that's why it, to me, that's why it hurts, and that's why it's painful in my gut. If I dwell too much on all that negativity, and like you said, we would just gradually be dying inside because of all that's going on around the world. So, but anyway, Betsy's getting ready to say goodbye, and I think she's feeling a little uncomfortable with the conversation, and I understand that, Betsy, as
Good.
it
That's
is
good. That's good. That's what I'm
difficult.
saying. Be uncomfortable. This world is uncomfortable, and sit with it. Learn how to sit with being uncomfortable. That's our prime tool of waking up, of liberation, is to be okay with being uncomfortable and finding reconciliation. That's what happens when we have two opposing anythings. When they sit together, and then they find the stillness of the third force of reconciliation, and that's the peace that comes after uncomfortability. We just need to get used to being uncomfortable. We really do. And meditation is uncomfortable, and a lot of spiritual practices, this pathway is uncomfortable, because you're going to have to look at truths. You're going to have to look at yourself, and you're going to have to be uncomfortable with a few of those things. But there is always, what we need to tell ourselves is that on the other side, there is the liberation. It's never uncomfortable for long. It's only ever uncomfortable for a little bit. The more that we turn away from it and push it away, that's when it gets bigger and bigger and harder to sit with it. It's like when you know that you have to open up your hamstrings. It's like, I need to open up my hamstrings so my pelvis isn't locked, so my knees aren't hurting. And the more that we push away the notion of sitting with our hamstrings, the tighter they get, and the harder it is to sit with those hamstrings. But the more that we can even just titrate, sitting with the idea, the concept, the movement, the anything, titration is really important as well, because it's taking little bits and little bits. So you're not coming up against a giant wall. Are you on mute, Cindy? You've just pushed on mute.
Uh-oh, yeah. I am on, was on mute. My apologies on that one. I feel, um, I feel like we've kind of gotten a little bit tuned into kind of some of the painful side of meditation, and differing opinions really on the way meditation is useful in our own bodies. And so I want to also, before we close off here, to understand that there is a very positive side of the meditation.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I don't,
I mean,
and you,
absolutely.
yeah, you probably don't feel that meditation is always painful.
Oh no, absolutely not. No, it's blissful. I mean, you just have to Google what are the benefits of meditation, and you'll find screeds. There's so much scholarly information about how good meditation is for our body and how good it feels. And also, just to go back, is that, I was very clear that there's different types of meditation. Now, the Tonglen practice of opening yourself up to breathe in, this is what thousands of monks are doing around the world, is breathing in negative energy and breathing out positive energy. So they're doing it. If that doesn't tickle your fancy, don't worry about it. Let the monks do it. Focus meditation. If you want to cultivate a better capacity for focus and attention, then do a focus meditation. There's all of these different paths, but either way, one, you will come up against yourself. No doubt you will come up against yourself. You will know your mind better. You'll cultivate capacities in your brain. It's building a muscle. And then you will get these feelings of spaciousness and centeredness and presence. So doesn't matter which type of meditation you do, just find the one that works for you and do it. I can't recommend it any more than I do. It's incredible.
Yeah,
It's like going to the gym, you know. We
yeah,
need it.
yeah. The mental gym and the emotional
The
gym and
mental
the
gym.
spiritual gym.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I'm glad you brought that up, as we're kind of tying this together now, is the different types of meditation. And to be honest with you, um, the the one that you called, that the monks use quite often, I have
Totally.
never heard that specific terminology for it, although I am familiar with that philosophy, I guess, or that direction in meditation.
Yeah, it's just meta
um
meditation. Yeah,
yeah.
meta. Yeah.
And okay. And then so um I feel like in what you do, I am certain that you come across people when you work with in your company, in your business, where you work with people that are in a variety of different stages when it comes to using meditation, and how it works for them. And let's and so don't open it to questions. I'm not against meditation. Just she's just against that breathing in suffering, and I
Yeah, and if
understand.
that doesn't work, and if that doesn't work for you, you're fine. Don't do it. I mean, we're all finding all roads lead to Rome, right? The only thing is we have to walk that road. And that is what practice is. So, if it doesn't matter what your road looks like, it's still going to the same place as long as you're walking it and being consistent and have a practice. And that's it, do what works for you, of course.
I understand that, and so and Betsy just to wants you to understand, I think, that she's not attacking meditation. She just, there was just a difference in the thought of just breathing in suffering. She, that's just something where you and her do not kind of see eye to eye on it. And so but we're not focusing on that part. I think the objective of our chat today is definitely different types of meditation, just meditation in general. Being able to do that self inquiry for sure. And so I do appreciate, Betsy being honest and sharing on here, the people that have been watching off and on during this time. And Betsy, not Betsy, I was wanting to ask Anneliese, as we get ready to finish up here, I would like for you to tell us how people can connect with you, and through what we're doing here.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm always doing things. I'm always doing things. There's always an offering on the table. So myjoybody.com, or you can find me on Facebook or Instagram. It's there. I'm on there. We've got a prayer meeting coming up for Gaza coming up soon. And we've also got a meditation, a visualization group that's happening called the Crystal Seed. And that's beautiful meditation. That's a guided meditation, kind of like the 90s. You lie back and you just go on a beautiful journey. And so the Crystal Seed, you can come and join me on that if you like. And it's a way that we can open our third eye and start to connect with the magic of the world. Yeah, so just contact me through any of the socials, whatever. And if you want to, continue this conversation with me, I'm more than happy to have a chin wag. I'm always up for it. Yeah, as I said, there is no duality. There is no right or wrong. There's, nothing really sits in opposition to anything. If we have a yes, it's all included. So yeah, a big yes to all of it, even the uncomfortable bit.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. All right. Well, we are so grateful to have spent this time with you. And so, when we get done here, I will be putting the links down below this conversation. If you want to add anything in the links to where, when we get off here, for them to be able to connect for some of the things that you just mentioned, be sure to do that. And thank you again, everyone who's on here. Those of you who might be following the replay, feel free to add your thoughts and your experiences when it comes to using meditation to connect with your yes, your inner self. All right. We will talk to
Well,
everyone later.
Cindy, thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the lovely work you do. I'd love to just have
Yes,
one little breath with you before we go. So can we just have one breath with everybody? Let's just take that.
absolutely.
Let's just take that breath in the nose and out the mouth. Thank you.
You are welcome. All righty. Bye bye.